All right, welcome to the MLB playoff, update here. I'm William Moyer here with me, my friend BK.
How we doing?
We were talking last night about the MLB playoffs, and this morning I had the idea, let's just jump on a podcast and talk about it because it's been a really exciting postseason so far. We've got a couple Game 5s, elimination winner-go-home games coming up tonight and tomorrow. And let's jump into that right now. Let's talk about first Tigers Guardians tomorrow at 8 p.m. It's gonna be something, man. I'm excited.
Somebody from Michigan. I'm torn to not kind of root for Detroit. Never been a Detroit fan, but Screwball also is like my favorite pitcher right now, and there's a lot of dispute if he's the best in the MLB, but I think he's gonna prove it. And then, if they can end up hitting the ball, it's gonna be a tough game for Detroit, but their pitching is stacked, and I think they match up well going into the next series. So it's tricky. It really is. I have no idea which way to lean.
Yeah, well, Detroit, they're a team that nobody expected to be here at all a couple months ago, and they were playing in a tough AL Central this year. The Twins were seeming like they were going to be the second best team out of that division, and they didn't even make the playoffs at all somehow. They kind of just completely fell off a cliff while the Tigers
flatlined hard.
The Tigers just jumped up there, took that 6th spot, beat the Astros in the wild card, which I don't think people really expected either. 2-0. They completely swept them, and now we're going to Game 5 against the Tigers. I am a Guardians fan, so I'm probably biased, but to me, I would say that the Guardians have a bit of an advantage going into this game. They've seen Screwball. They played him in Game 2, so they kind of know what he's about. Granted, he is probably going to be the Cy Young, so even if you know what he's giving you, it's still not an easy guy to hit off of.
They just got to rally some together, I think, is the important thing.
In Game 2, they got guys on base. They had runners in scoring position a few times, but
multiple times.
I remember 2 times runners in scoring position grounded into double plays, and that just kills you. The Guardians cannot do that. They did a good job last night in their game. They won 5-4. Finally scored runs after not scoring any runs for 20 straight innings.
Who do you project Cleveland to pitch tonight? Because they are still undecided.
Oh, they
according
are?
to ESPN.
I thought it was going to be Boyd, but
Boyd would probably be a really good pick to
I would say Boyd. He pitched Game 2. He's on some rest. I was thinking Bibee was going to pitch this Game 5, but they ended up pitching him yesterday, which ended up pretty much working out. Bobby didn't pitch great, but he was good enough. Got them the win.
They needed the in Detroit. They needed to get a good win heading back to Cleveland. So
yeah.
That was a good choice on their part. But now they kind of face that decision today of what to do because Detroit's obviously throwing their ace at them and in preparation to win this to go play New York. So
yeah, well, I feel like the Guardians pitching is kind of a constant. I think it's really going to come down to if they can hit off of Screwball and how many innings they can let him pitch. Because if they get his pitch count up and only allow him to pitch like 6 innings or something, I would feel good about the Guardians. But if Screwball is dealing like he was in Game 2 and we can't get anything off of him and he's getting out of innings quickly, then it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough.
Because Detroit's put up 2 shutouts already. So,
yeah.
I mean, as a Cleveland fan, I would be nervous if I was going into that game with 2 already prior shutouts. But the other 2 games, if you don't get shut out, you're winning. So I think the important thing to do is score over 3 runs. Because it's looking like Detroit's a given for 3 runs so far. So, I don't know. I think that's going to be the game of the weekend for sure.
Oh, yeah. So what is your final prediction who you think is going to win tomorrow?
I personally believe, no bias involved, I think Tigers win it 5-4 in an opposite flip of how Cleveland just beat them. I just think it's the Cinderella story is going to live on, man. And I know I'm in Ohio saying that against a bunch of people in Cleveland, so it's going to be unpopular, but there's just a magic in the air in Detroit right now, and it's going to be hard to shake.
Kind of similar to the Mets, who we can get to later. But my prediction, I'm going Guards 4-2.
4-2?
4-2. I think it's going to be a close game. It's going to really be a tense game the whole way. It seems like every game besides game one, every game of this series, these last 3 games have all been just tense and just tough to watch at times.
The city of Cleveland's
Guardians
going to have a tough day.
Guardians got 5 runs, and I think they're going to be all right. I think they're going to be able to get some hits, and think they got a little bit of confidence back. That David Fry home run, that saved us. Thank you, David Fry.
Mm-hmm. You did say they did already see Skubal, so, you know, you're keen to probably get a couple more hits than you did the last time and maybe draw some more. All they got to do is hold them on the other end, too. So
but on the other side as well, the Tigers have already seen Matthew Boyd, if he is the starter, which I think he will be. If it's Matthew Boyd, then they've already seen him as well. So you got 2 sides. Man, I don't know.
I'm curious what Vegas thinks.
Oh yeah,
Vegas. I think Vegas had
looks
that
like
over at 6 or something.
Says Detroit minus 125 right now.
Oh,
in Cleveland. Wow.
Yeah, back to Cleveland. I guess the Cy Young Award winner is probably weighing that a little bit.
I would say so.
I think that's going to be as interesting as I think Padres-Dodgers will be. I truly think one of those teams in Game 5 is just going to run away with it. It might be like it was for the Dodgers 8-0 kind of thing, or even going the Padres' way. I have no idea how that game's going to go down.
Well, and I think these are 2 completely different styles of play. Like the Dodgers and Padres are 2 teams who have so much star power, so many guys who can really get hits and score runs, and then you go over to the Tigers, and it kind of matches with the region of the country they're from.
Mm-hmm.
The West, you thinking a lot of stars, Hollywood gonna get a lot of hits, and then the Midwest is just gritty baseball. David Fry laying down a bunt,
playing in cold weather.
Yep.
So I thought the Padres had to do it in 4 if they were gonna do it.
You think
because
so?
I thought the Padres pitching was better, but LA's hitting is just it's LA's
the
hitting.
Best, yeah.
So you gotta. Mookie Betts comes alive, and all of a sudden, you're facing Sheho in his first playoff appearance. That's huge. He's gonna try to show out. So, I personally think the Dodgers might take it on that one, but that's a whole different topic of conversation. You're 1,000% right. It is a different brand of baseball on the West Coast over there.
So, let's get into that game. Padres and Dodgers. Been a crazy series so far. I honestly have not been really tuned into it.
Well, you've been locked into Cleveland.
I got my own team to worry about. But Fernando Tatis is having a crazy postseason. He's got 4 home runs, batting .500 right now, leading the postseason in home runs. It's just crazy. 7 RBIs. He's doing wonders.
It's minus 145 odds for LA to win, which is straight. San Diego's got Yu Darvish pitching, which is that's something to be concerned about if you're LA too. Not that they don't have their own concerns coming on the back end for who's starting for LA, but LA's got to solely rely on their hitting this game. They pitched so many relievers in the other night's game, and that I'm not sure how much firepower they're gonna have to. They're gonna have to have some windows in 7, 8, and 9 to give up, because they probably will.
And their pitcher who's gonna be pitching tonight, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. I think that's how you pronounce it.
I think you did a very good job at that.
In his first start of the postseason, his only other start, he only went 3 innings, and really did not do very well. So. He was really good in the regular season. I can look at his stats right now. He had a 3 ERA over the regular season, had a 7-2 record, 105 Ks. So he was a great regular season pitcher, but playoffs are always different. So who knows? I think it's going to come down to which pitcher is going to be able to at least slow down the other offense.
Yeah, because it's going to be best believe the over's going to drill and then some. There's no chance that they don't leave this game up to
over
10,
under
11 runs.
8.5.
Yeah, it's going to 12 runs. There's no way it doesn't. There's just both, I think you said it the best. Both these teams have so much star power, and there's so much oomph from behind the plate. And on top of that, it's a 2-2 series in probably what are 2 of the favorites to win the World Series matched up against each other. They're going to want good entertainment, and those umpires are going to be looking to call strikes. You're going to be seeing a lot of swinging of the bat and some aggressive steals.
Yeah.
And
the game being in LA certainly helps the Dodgers, I would say.
oh, absolutely.
Home field advantage. It's in some sports, I don't think it really matters. Basketball, NBA, I don't think it really matters. But in Major League Baseball, I think home field advantage certainly plays a difference.
I would say in terms of baseball magic, absolutely. I mean, it's
at home. Yeah.
It's surreal sometimes, the kind of stuff that can happen. I mean, down 3, bottom of the 9th, and you come back and hit a 4-run shot. You know, it's baseball is wild, especially in the postseason. I mean, we saw Philly last year; that place was erupting.
Yeah.
And then we see an early exit out of them this year, and it's like, you
Yeah.
know, sometimes home field advantage is huge, and sometimes it goes nowhere. So.
Yeah.
Baseball is baseball for that reason. You really never know on any
Yeah.
given day what that, you know, flight's gonna do to that team or that pitcher's got in his head that
how
day.
the wind is moving.
Right, at the right time to catch a ball over the left field fence. Like it's a wild game. And
Yeah.
it's sometimes hard to watch for your average viewer in the regular season. But man, if you don't love the MLB in the playoffs, I don't know what you're doing. It is electric.
It's tense, especially when you got a team that you're rooting for. So, what would you say? Final prediction for Padres Dodgers.
I think the Dodgers are probably going to come out with it. They've just been too good all year, but I do think this game is going to be a wire game. I think it's going to be, I'll say 7-6 LA. It's going down in LA tonight.
I'm gonna take the exact opposite of that. I'm gonna say Padres 7-6.
Okay,
That's what
all right.
When you were talking about it, I was thinking, what am I gonna do in my head? And I thought 7-6. So I'm taking Padres.
I love that score.
Tatis, I think Tatis is playing out of his mind right now. He's confident. Machado always is there. I just believe in the Padres.
I'm kind of rooting for him, honestly.
I would. I'm rooting for him too.
I see all these, Shohei Ohtani is up to bat in 12 batters, and I'm like, okay, Mookie Betts is up too here soon. So I don't know. It's there's a lot of love in that realm, which I get it. I mean,
Ohtani is maybe the best player ever.
It's hard not to love him.
He's crazy, but I don't. Same with the Yankees, who we'll talk. We can talk about the huge payrolls, just buying players. I don't love.
Listen, I'm a Pirates fan, so I don't got much. So I'm a little bit jealous on the back end. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But we figure it out. We got Paul Skeens. We're gonna get rolling here eventually. But we're not here to talk about the Pirates.
Yeah. So we got we got opposite predictions, both of us. You got Tigers, I got the Guards, I got the Padres, you got the Dodgers. So
I'm excited to see what follows after that, because I had the Royals beating the Yankees. I thought they were gonna do it, and they didn't. Yankees went out, man.
I was hoping the Royals would win.
But we got both New York teams already ready to advance, and I think that's pretty interesting. Mets are on fire.
Yeah.
And they beat the team that I thought was going to win the World Series in the Phillies. But Phillies got cold, really cold all of a sudden. And
do you want to talk about that series, how the Mets are doing so far?
I mean, you just can't argue with how well they're batting. Their pitching's holding strong. They've got a really solid 3 rotation off their top 3. And that's enough to spark them wins. They can score in bunches. I mean, you saw it took 1 hit for them to really win that game. And I mean, it's a 6 seed, buried and ready to win. I will say, I never believed in the Brewers. I always thought the Brewers division was trash. And no disrespect to my Milwaukee guys out there.
Every year.
Yeah, it's like when Aaron Rodgers used to play the Lions and the Bears every year, and it's like, dude.
You just know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, we know what happens when playoffs come. So not to dish my Wisconsinites out there.
Yeah.
The Mets were about it this year.
They're magic. They got that playoff magic. You talk about, like, Lindor hit that grand slam the other day. That made me happy because from Cleveland. I remember watching him when he was on the Rubber Ducks, and he's just 6 RBIs so far for them. Obviously coming off that grand slam, but I mean he's been really good, and they're just every time they need something clutch, he's right there. They're right there, these Mets.
I'm telling you, there's a magic in the air over there in New York. Whether you're rooting for the Mets or the Yankees, everybody's happy in New York right now. So,
yeah.
I mean, what I'm going to be concerned is, either way, if San Diego or L.A. wins, whether your prediction's right or mine, they're going to be traveling across the entire country for, back and forth for those games. I'm wondering how much that's going to play a factor, especially if some of these games start becoming night games. I mean, that's a 4-hour difference. You play a game at 8 o'clock at night, and all of a sudden, some of those dudes are getting into 2, 3, 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
Going into some extra innings. So that one might be interesting to see. But I guess it would have happened either way, too, with Philly. But I think that'll be a very interesting series considering the Mets are hot and so are Padres and Dodgers.
I mean, both. I think that will be a really, really exciting series. Who would you pick to win that series if it's Padres or Dodgers versus the Mets? You have the Dodgers.
Let me put it in my scenario. Okay, so I'm thinking Dodgers beating Padres. So matching up New York versus L.A., I think L.A. and New York are kind of in the same bunch. They've got a good, solid 3 rotation that they can throw, and they're both really good, hot-hitting teams right now. I think probably L.A. will end up taking that just because of the seeding. The first 2 are going to be in L.A. They'll probably take the first 2, and then that leads to a little bit of pressure back in New York. Now, they might take Game 3, but then you got 4 to worry about, and then 5 to go back to L.A. I think it's going to be tough for them geographically, and that might end up weighing over the top.
You think the series will go 6 though?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's the Mets are absolutely going to get their wins in, and certainly, especially once the Dodgers start putting down some of their later pitchers, I think the Mets will start really showing you how good they are at hitting this year. So, I mean, that's something to be mindful of, but. I don't think the Mets match up with the Padres as well as they do with the Dodgers. I will say that. I think if the Padres come in against the Mets, it's going to be a different scenario. Their pitching is much more in depth. I think if Padres can this is the World Series for the Padres right now. If they can win this, I think they've got a serious chance, personally.
Yeah. I would say for my scenario,
what do you think about
Mets Padres? I'm giving it to the Mets. I just think I think either team. I think the Mets are making the World Series.
Man, we're just all over the map today. I love it. I love it.
The Mets are they're special.
They are.
They finally they've had this roster that they've had for a few years, and it wasn't able to really come together. And finally, they've been able to. Everybody's clicking. Pete Alonso is hitting home runs. They just got a lot of really good. They got a good rotation as well.
Lindor's been hitting pretty well, too.
And I like their rotation as well. So, yeah. I'm really saying Mets to the World Series.
I can't. I wish I could argue with you. Like, I'm not going to say you're wrong because it is a very high chance of that. But I personally think whoever comes out of that side of the bracket is probably taking the title. I mean, I think you said the West.
An NL World Series.
Yeah, the NL is just stacked this year.
Yeah,
Cleveland on the other side is really good. I mean, solid team from top to bottom, but it's more of the star power aspect. You start looking at the AL versus the NL, and you can start weighing the differences a little bit of who might show up in that Game 7 when you have it, and that's where those guys really shine. So
Padres got Tatis,
Dodgers,
Machado, Dodgers obviously, Ohtani.
Yeah, we know all about LA. So
Mets stole Lindor from us, sadly. I was thinking, like after Lindor hit, I saw the grand slam, I was like, man, what if he was still on the Guardians? How good that team would be, because if we had him playing shortstop instead of Rocchio, oh my God,
it's adding a whole new aspect.
That would be, I think we would be the best team in baseball, but can't compete with these big money teams, unfortunately. But Jose stays. That's my goat right there.
That is something I gotta dissect more. Is the MLB soft cap? It still gets me for a loop from time to time, but I do understand there's a market. But it's hard for Detroit to sometimes to muster up the money that LA can for some reason. Yeah. So, but it's gonna be interesting. I mean, what team do you think matches up better with the Yankees? By the way, I don't think I ever asked you that. Do you think Detroit or Cleveland matches up better? I mean, obviously you're gonna have a bias, but think about a hitting perspective versus the Yankees.
I think the Guardians have a better complete pitching rotation,
I would agree
the Guardians.
with that.
I don't know if anyone is really going to disagree that the Guardians have the best bullpen in baseball.
Yeah.
I don't think the Tigers or Guardians really are that great of a hitting team. I think they're both about average. So I think it comes down to pitching, and I would say Guardians have the better pitching. I mean, the Tigers have the best pitcher with Skubal,
but the depth is what matters.
Yeah, whole rotation I would say is what I would give to the Guardians.
So that'll be interesting because obviously the Yankees can hit the ball. They are very well known for that, but their pitching has been spotty all year. So
yeah,
it is gonna kind of come down to who can compete with how hot their bats can get and how hot they can be. And
do you want to talk about that Yankees-Royals series? What happened there? 3-1 Yankees getting the series win. Pretty easy for the Yankees.
Yeah,
really, no stress.
It looked very stressless, and it almost felt like Kansas City didn't want to go out there.
Yeah.
The one night that Kansas City got the win, I think most of the people in Kansas City were watching the Chiefs that night because I think they played on the same night. At least I was watching the Chiefs that night. So, I don't know what happened to the Royals. I watched two of the 4 games, and both of those games, the Yankees just seemed like they had it.
Yeah.
Like, we keep talking about the magic in New York that's been going on, and, it just felt like they all looked stress-free. And I don't feel like the last time I saw that was the Phillies last year in the playoffs when they were in that first series. So, we'll see. It's going to – the Yankees are going to get home field advantage probably the whole way through unless, I think if they play the Dodgers in the World Series, the Dodgers have home field advantage, right?
Let me check because I don't know. So the Dodgers won 98 games. Let me check how many the Yankees won.
I believe the Yankees 94 and 68.
So it would be the Dodgers who would have home field advantage in the World Series.
So
yeah,
they can keep the magic in New York all the way up until that point. So
yeah, well, this Yankees team is just really, really good. Has Aaron Judge really even been that good this post? Like, was he really even that good in that series?
He didn't need to be.
Yeah,
but that was the thing.
They have Soto. They have so many other guys like
Giancarlo Stanton. They're fine. They just have to limit other teams' runs, and they're gonna score the ball. So,
and dude, they have Jazz Chisholm too. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, though that came out of left field. Just that surprised me when that happened. And I couldn't believe they could afford to pay him with all the dudes they got on that roster. I was like, good God. So we'll see. But who do you predict is your World Series matchup?
I want it to be the Guardians so bad, but just knowing our history against the Yankees, dude, I hate them so much. Every year.
You and a lot of fans share
Eventually we have to play them, and every year they just kill us. I want it to be different, but I just think the Yankees are too good. I would really like it to be a Yankees Mets World Series. I think that would be fun, and I'll be definitely rooting for the Mets because I do not like the Yankees at all. I think
that's favorable.
Yankees Mets is what I am predicting.
I would love that. I think everybody would love that. A little New York matchup.
That would be fun.
Half the city's going to be electric, and the other half.
I didn't realize about they got this closer Luke Weaver, and he's been lights out so far this postseason. I think that really helps them out as well.
Definitely
having a good closer who, if he's because he's got 3 saves so far in the postseason. That's most of anybody this postseason so far, and having a good closer, a guy who can close out late game situations, especially in the playoffs when you need those late game closing situations.
Need him healthy.
That really, I think, improves them a whole lot and makes them even more scary.
I agree. If you can keep those guys healthy, it is vital to have good closers, especially in big tight games. You need a guy come in 2 on, 1 out, and he needs to go get 2. That's a very underlooked aspect of baseball. I feel like that most people, when they evaluate a team or their team, that's something that they think about.
Yeah.
I mean, having Aroldis Chapman is certainly a big flex, and somebody can launch it 105 miles an hour straight down the pipe. You can't even see it.
Class A last night, one of his pitches was 102.
Jeez.
Like, is.
I don't know how I praise the umpires, dude. I could never, ever.
Yeah, how could you tell? Something's coming 102. How can you tell if that's in the strike
We're so judgmental of them, dude. Like, we're so judgmental of the umpires. They miss a strike by half an inch, and we're like, oh, my God. I'm so guilty of it, dude.
Yeah,
those high inside ones that they let go, and I'm like, yeah, it's a strike 3 call all day. And I could never do it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Too tough of an aspect. But I think it's going to be Padres-Yankees. Padres taking it this year.
Padres. I would like to see that.
I just have a feeling. I know I'm contradicting myself. I want the Dodgers to win is more of the issue.
Oh, really?
Over the Padres. But that's because I think the Dodgers can match up against the Mets pretty well. I don't know. We'll see. But I personally, if I had to put my bank account somewhere, I would probably take Padres Yankees. But I'm praying the Dodgers pull it out tonight. I think that's gonna be an electric game in LA. But I don't know. I would love your scenario: a New York Mets, New York Yankees World Series. I mean. How would you not be on the edge of your seat for that?
I think the best matchups, like from a not my best matchup is the Guardians playing in the World Series. I don't care who it's against. If the Guardians are playing in the World Series, I'm happy. If the Guardians are playing in the ALCS, I'm happy because we are still have to win tomorrow night. But World Series matchups that would really be exciting, I think, for a lot of people. Yankees obviously are going to be in there, but Yankees-Mets or Yankees-Dodgers. Yankees-Dodgers, the two biggest teams in baseball, I would say. The two biggest franchises. And then Yankees-Mets as well. We kind of talked about that already. Just New York matchup would be pretty crazy.
Oh, yeah. All that magic's in the air. It would be in the air at that
But I'd be happy
with
with really any matchup. I mean, it's been an exciting postseason. I think all of these teams kind of bring something exciting to the table.
Yeah, I'm very excited for today and tomorrow, and then what follows after that. So, it's a great time to be in sports at the moment. I love October so much, especially the weather's starting to turn too. It's really starting to feel like fall baseball. Football is coming. Even some basketball starting a little bit.
Bro, we're less than a month away from college basketball being back. I noticed that the other day. I was like, man, we're almost back.
I need Ohio State to do something this year, man. I can't keep being an Ohio State basketball fan for the rest of my life. It's killing me. Football's carrying the weight right now, but
well, all right, BK, thanks for talking about some
anytime
MLB baseball.
We'll be back back for that World Series, and we'll talk about this one again.
Yeah, but I got the Guardians, you got the Tigers, I got the Padres, you got the Dodgers. Just shows you how unpredictable the postseason can be.
And it will be.
But this has been our MLB playoff update, recap, predictions, talking about pretty much everything. But thank you for listening.